Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. So, Virgil Ortiz Jr. wins a majority decision in a thrilling fight over SERHII Bohachuk. Two judges had it 114, 112, 8 rounds to 4. More of those scores later. The other one had it, I think it was 113, 113. Now, that's what I had it. I had it to draw 113, 113. But those scores include 2 knockdowns in favour of SERHII Bohachuk, who came in as the WBC interim super welterweight champ. If you put a gun to my head and you said, who do you think's the winner? I don't know. It's a difficult one. I mean, when I totted up my card, I thought, okay, yeah, I'm glad that's a draw because I don't like giving 10-10 rounds. I never, ever give them. I mean, I can't remember the last time I gave a 10-10 round. It was probably about 25 years ago when then I decided I'm not doing it anymore. But there are some fights where I think a draw is justified, and this was one of them. Unfortunately for Bohachuk, he lost on a majority decision that he can feel hard done by. In the first round, I mean, both these guys have, tremendous knockout percentages. Ortiz came in with 21 wins and 21 knockouts. SERHII Bohachuk had 24 wins with 23 knockouts. So you would think there's going to be an almighty atom bomb going off. And from the word go, they both moved forward. They were both looking to land their major punches. And Bohachuk caught Ortiz with an overhand right that was a flash knockdown. He put him down, but the referee didn't call it. Now, that was looked at and reviewed at ringside. And then 4 rounds later, it was announced that, no, that was a knockdown. So the scorecards went from what could have been a 10-9 round for Ortiz to possibly a 10-8 for Bohachuk. Because even though he was knocked down in that round, it wasn't called initially. He got up and he actually stung Bohachuk. And in fact, the man with the heavier hands looked to me like Ortiz. Ortiz was, for the first 4 rounds, he was a hard punch ahead. He was a punch ahead. He was working the body beautifully. And there seemed to be more thought going into what he was doing, just a little bit. Now, that's not to say Bohachuk was fighting poorly. He wasn't. He was shelling up a lot. Not the Philly shell, the standard, the old style shell. But he was walking forward and he was firing his own punches. And he was landing. He was definitely landing. And both these guys were looking to take each other's heads off. I just thought that Ortiz had a bit more method to what he was doing. And he was working the body better than Bohachuk. Bohachuk, 2 inches taller. He's about 6 foot tall. Super welterweight, so we're talking 154. It's tall for a super welterweight. Ortiz Jr. looked physically stronger. I'm not saying necessarily was, but he did seem to have the heavier hands. Now, in the middle rounds, Ortiz, I don't know whether he fell in love with his power, but he kind of started to, his punches became less frequent and he started to really just fire in spurts, almost like he was looking for that knockout punch. And that allowed Bohachuk to sort of find a little bit of rhythm and start letting his hands go. And he was landing good punches. And the middle rounds, I thought Bohachuk came back into it quite strongly. And in fact, he had, in the 8th round, he scored his second knockdown. And this was definitely a knockdown, and it was called on the spot. It was Ortiz was winding up his own left hook, got beaten to it by Bohachuk, who connected, and Ortiz sort of fell to his side. He wasn't badly hurt at all. He got up. He denied it was a knockdown. It was a knockdown, definitely. But then he absolutely tore after Bohachuk. And again, now both these knockdown rounds, you could call them 10-9s, not 10-8s. Because especially in the 8th, even though that was quite clearly a knockdown, even though Ortiz denied it, Ortiz absolutely tore after Bohachuk and tried to sort of rectify it with his own knockdown. But Bohachuk, although he was shaken, and at no point, in my opinion, even though he was on the floor twice, was Ortiz hurt. Bohachuk was, and in the 8th round, he was shelling up, moving. His legs didn't look too steady. Maybe it's the fact that he's tall and thin and he sort of sways a bit, and therefore it looks he's more hurt than he is. But he didn't go down. Now, the 9th and 10th, I thought Bohachuk came back into it, but the 11th and 12th, definitely Ortiz's rounds, and he dominated those rounds for me, landed by far the heavier punches. Having said that, although Bohachuk had some minor abrasions, very minor scuffs on his face, Ortiz was the guy who had the couple of, they weren't very deep, but a couple of cuts on the bridge of the nose, and he had a very light, it didn't look deep, but it was a light slice along the eyelid, I thought. And he did have some swellings on his face as well. So definitely Bohachuk was obviously landing punches. It weren't the referee that was hitting Ortiz. So the heavier hands, which is weird when you think about it, because the heavier hands were from Ortiz, but he was the one who suffered 2 knockdowns, and ended up looking worse. And when it was announced, when the result was announced, Bohachuk sort of smiled as if to say, "Oh well, that's the way it is," But he said afterwards in his post-fight interview, "I knew I won. I thought I won. If you watch this fight and you understand boxing, I won. I scored 2 knockdowns. No, I mean I had it a draw. I think 113 would have been fair. I think that's what one of the judges had it, but it went to Ortiz. Bohachuk's 29, from Ukraine, was fighting for his country. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I thought he was a bit unlucky, to be honest. Ortiz, terrific fighter, terrifically entertaining. This 12 rounds, it's the first time he's been in the distance, but these 12 rounds will definitely, set him in good stead for future challenges. And one of those, in fact, the next one might be Terence Crawford, because Turki Al-Sheikh was in the studio being interviewed, wearing Western clothing. I barely recognised him. He still had his glasses on and his beard, but I think he had a shirt, just a t-shirt on or something. No headdress. So, and he said, he was being interviewed with Oscar De La Hoya. He said, this is before the fight, he said, if Ortiz comes through this, I want him matched with Bud Crawford. He also mentioned Eddie Hearn getting involved. De La Hoya won't like that. De La Hoya at one point said Tim Tszyu as well. Let's not forget Tim Tszyu, it's Fundora's fighting Spence, isn't he? I don't know. Is Tim Tszyu still sidelined? And Turki Al-Sheikh said, "Well, I'm not really interested in Tim Tszyu at the moment. Let's have Ortiz versus Bud Crawford. Yeah, that'd be a great fight. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of permutations you can make in that 154 division. So it looks like if the excellent Turki has his way and De La Hoya doesn't his head don't explode about having to work with Hearn and kowtow somewhat to Turki Al-Sheikh, we could see Bud Crawford against Ortiz next, and that's an entertaining fight. But Bohachuk deserves to come back. He's 29. He's no kind of age really. I mean, he's got another 4 years maybe left in his career before he starts to wane a bit. Ortiz is only 26, so he's definitely got time. But it'll be interesting to see how these pan out. Don't write off Bohachuk as a future champ, though. That guy showed a steel jaw. Really, really terrific stuff. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Great fight, though. Very, very entertaining. Very, very thrilling. What did you think of it? Did you see it? If not, go and watch it. It's on DAZN. And it was a decent enough card, but definitely the best fight of the night was the headliner. So go and have a look. Tell me what you think. And please, thank you for your time. But subscribe to the channel if you're new. And if you could hit the like button as well, that helps us. And please spread the word about Joe Stunner Boxing. Let's build up the channel. Come on. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. And bye for now.